Hey everybody. In this video it's going to be, at least for me, it was a little nerve-wracking to film, but I think it's going to provide some useful information for everyone to understand how the car starts to function when you are entering lower states of charge. That's a scenario that a lot of EV owners get into, whether by accident or sometimes on purpose. They maybe skip a charger thinking that they can stretch it, and then they end up cutting it closer than they expect. So I wanted to sort of simulate a similar scenario. It's not perfect because as you'll see near the end of the video, I am getting nervous and start driving around the parking lot to get the battery low. But yeah, the important things to keep in mind for how the Rivian R2 is behaving during lower states of charge. I think you can make it out on the dash, but around the speedometer there is kind of a half circle. When you have a normal, like, I guess 30% above battery, that will essentially be fully filled with that gray that you see in the video. But as your state of charge starts to drop, the filling sort of replaces with a light gray and just becomes completely grayed out. And so you'll see that maximum power, that's what that represents, is what output the car is capable of delivering. You'll see that slowly creep down as the state of charge drops. And that was like the primary thing that I was using to kind of recognize how close to running out I really was. Because as you'll see, the car gets down to 0%, and you still got some left in the tank, or battery in this case. But yeah, I had fun after it was over. After I realized I wasn't gonna have to call a flatbed. It was a fun test. I think it revealed some useful information about how the R2 behaves. I'm very happy with the BMS calibration. It seems like they have a very linear path of power decrease. So, when you are on a road trip or something and you start seeing that tick down, you kind of can come to learn how much more driving time you'll have and how quickly you need to find a charge. So yeah, I mean, let's get into it. I'm gonna speed the video up because I started recording pretty early, but I wanted to showcase the different kind of levels of battery reduced warnings you get. So you start out, you have the yellow is where the video starts, and I think that comes in around 20%. It might be 15%, but either way, the yellow is basically saying low battery, charge soon. And then you get a red, and that's like, please charge soon. It's a little more urgent, but I think it's 10%. So you obviously have, 30-ish miles of range remaining, if not more. And then you'll see that there's an even more critical one after that. And then at the bottom of the pack, you get at 0, you get the exclamation mark through the battery, and then you're kind of at the mercy of the car, I guess. But yeah, just take a look and see how it behaves. I will try to do voiceover throughout the video to explain what's going on. Overall, I'm very happy with the predictability, the linear nature of how the power output decreased. It was, there were no, I don't know if you've all seen the LFP Rivians where you'll be trucking along, and this was kind of a calibration issue, but there were scenarios where people were driving along and then all of a sudden they dropped like 3 or 4% in chunks. And it's like the BMS just never really knew how to handle LFPs and Rivians, I think, but that's why they don't sell them anymore, probably. But yeah, just let me know if you have any questions, and hope you enjoy. And coming up here shortly, we approach the first moment where the red battery warning pops up in the lower left of the driver display. It reads, battery very low, charge soon. And that occurs at 10% state of charge. And we're about to reach the next milestone. You'll see the warning pop up in the lower left, battery almost empty, performance reduced to conserve energy. And you can also make note in the right side of the driver display that semicircle that we talked about around the speedometer is, it looks to be nearly half full, half shaded, which indicates that we've essentially lost half of the available power. And we are a very low state of charge, so to still have nearly half the power of the vehicle available, I think is very good, very confidence inspiring. And half of the power of this vehicle is more than enough to quickly propel it anywhere you need to go. Coming up here shortly, you may see me reach for the main display and reset my trip meter. When I'm resetting the trip meter, that is the moment that we reach 0% state of charge. So that was just so we can keep track of how many miles you can drive past 0% and still have, reasonable power delivery and move the car without issue. So we just reset it, and then the rest of the clip is me just driving until I feel slightly uncomfortable with the remaining amount of power. At this point, we are well into 0%, and the remaining power still seems to be around 20%. You can certainly feel when you get into the accelerator that you are missing some power, but for these low speed loops that I was doing, I really never felt like the car was struggling at all. Um, there is a point later in the video where I put my foot into the pedal a bit more just to, see how much pedal we're missing, basically. I do believe I get turtle mode to pop up. And essentially, when you are in this state, turtle mode is just telling you, hey, the car does not have the performance that you're requesting. There are other scenarios that you may get into turtle mode. The car could pull power if you have like a front motor issue or the clutch disconnect throws a code or something, and it's essentially locking you out of both motors. This is just simply due to the battery state of charge being so low that the car no longer has the um, ability to propel itself to the degree that you are requesting. And you can see on the left side of the driver display that little yellow icon at the top. That is the turtle, and it popped up whenever I put my foot in it, and then it actually goes away once you stop requesting that amount of power. So it's kind of this turtle mode is conditional and based on when you are attempting to use power that isn't available. that is not always the case with the turtle icon. Sometimes it indicates a larger problem, but in this case, it's simply due to the battery. And you can see we are essentially spending all of our time now in turtle mode because the available power has reached a point that's so low that just my normal parking lot driving and the loop I'm doing requests more of power than available. Now, you know, at that point I was getting like a little nervous, like, okay, I'm constantly in turtle mode. I don't want to get to a point where I can't move the car to where it needs to go. So I decided to, after 4 miles of 0% driving, I decided to plug in and get enough um, charge to get home. For this charging session, I was hoping would have been kind of useful, but unfortunately, shortly into the session, we got station limited. This was only a 200 kilowatt NACS station to begin with, and there was one other or two other cars plugged in actually, which is unfortunate, but I just unplugged and decided it was time to head home. Hey everybody, thanks for sticking with the video up to this point. I think we got some valuable information, at least I did, on how the Rivian R2 behaves at the bottom of the pack. You're never sure with a new product or a new offering from a company if it's going to mirror or be similar to their previous products, or, since this one is maybe using different cells, the 4695s versus the 2170s, I believe, for the R1, how it's going to behave, or if they've figured out the BMS for the new cells. But so far, I think they've done a great job. I felt like the power drop off as the battery pack depleted was predictable. It was linear, which is nice. You never want it to jump around and confuse you as to what's going to happen next. This kind of gave me confidence to be able to extend and maybe push on a road trip to a charger that maybe before the test I would say, well, let's play it safe. But just knowing how it behaves now, I think that gives me a little bit of additional confidence driving. I'm happy that they were able to kind of nail this on such an early car. I think it's very important, especially for a mass market car, that they want people outside of like the EV community to adopt. It's important you nail something like BMS, because nothing would be worse than someone new to an EV in their first EV running out of battery at 2 or 3%, or being so power limited at 1 or 2% that they can't move where they need to safely. So I think it's huge that they kind of built this. I guess there's probably a buffer. We don't exactly know how much. They built enough of a buffer to still deliver solid power all the way down to 0%. And really the only time I felt like it was unsafe to drive on a main road was like 2 or 3 miles under 0%, which, if you're still on a main road at that point, you might be in trouble. But yeah, I mean, I'm very happy with the result. Let me know what you all think in the comments. I know it would be fun kind of for the viewers if I ran it to dead and we could see how far it would really go. I think realistically, I think I was probably within 3 or 4 miles of getting that last tier of warning. The final warning is basically, hey, your car's shutting down, you need to pull over. It will not move anymore. If I had to guess, I would say another 3 or 4 miles I would have reached that. But this is my car. I own it. I plan to keep it a very long time. I don't want to potentially harm the longevity of the battery by completely draining it. I don't want to put any stress on the 12 volt if that's a concern. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm coming from. Hopefully this test was useful. Hopefully I was able to highlight some of the behaviors as you drain your battery, the different warnings and things like that. But yeah, if anyone has any questions, feel free to comment. I've tried to respond as much as I can. Keeping me pretty busy, but it's been fun so far. So yeah, just appreciate all the subscribers, appreciate the views, comments, even the negative comments. I'm able to take those. They don't bother me at all. There's always room for improvement. I'm still new to the video editing and content creation. So this is fun. It's a fun opportunity for growth for me. So bring on any comment you have. Don't worry about hurting my feelings or anything. I'm almost 40 years old. I think I've heard it all by now. So yeah, appreciate the views, appreciate the comments. Like the videos. That helps the algorithm target people that might want to learn more about Rivian R2s. And yeah, more videos coming, more shorts coming later today, hopefully. But appreciate it. Have a good day.